Good morning to all. As usual, hope you're fine. So last class we discussed our second unit, Wings and Wheels, and first chapter, A Shipwrecked Sailor. And do you remember who is the author? Yes, very good, Gabriel Garcia Marquez. Okay, so last class we already learned some important characters. So our first character, the narrator of the story, that is Velasco, and some of the shipmates also there. So just we note down the character's name. Our first character and the narrator is Velasco. And there are some shipmates also. So who are they? Do you remember that? Who is the other shipmates in Velasco's ship? Yes, some of the characters are, first one is Carabello. Then next, Castillo. Next one, Rengifo. And last one, Ramon Herrera. These are the main characters of our story, the shipwrecked sailor. So last class we complete up to 9th paragraphs. So once again we start the 9th paragraph and we can continue the other parts. Okay? So are you ready? Okay. So take page number 48, we can start. The wind was blowing from his direction. I yelled that I could not row against the wind, that he should make another try, but I felt he had heard me. The crates of cargo had disappeared and the life raft danced from side to side. So, our narrator Velasco tried to help his shipmates and the wind was again and again blowing. And one of the Velasco is just yelled, he is just crying that I could not row against the wind. He can't try to help his friend, that he should make another try. So, he continued trying to help his friend, but I felt he had earned. But his friend can't try to help his friend. The crates of cargo had disappeared. So, he never see the cargo again, that is disappeared while the flowing of wind. And the life raft danced from side to side. So, the life raft is just danced side to side. Battered by the waves, battered means the life rafts or rafts are damaged, battered means damaged. In an instant, that moment, I was 5 meters away from Rengifo. So, in that time, I was just away from Rengifo and had lost sight of him. So, at that moment, I can't see Rengifo. He is just away from my sight. But he appeared in another spot. But after some time, he just appeared in the another spot. Still not panking. That still is very fearing. Panking means he was very fearing. Ducking. Ducking means he is just going under the water. Ducking under water to prevent the waves from sweeping him away. So, first time I can't see him in my side. So, after that I can see in the another spot. I stood up holding out the oar. So, he just stood up and holding the oar, hoping Rengifo could get close enough to reach it. So, I want to help Rengifo, so I am trying for that. So, Rengifo could get close to reach it, but then I could see he was tiring, losing heart, but I feel that he was so discouraged. Losing heart means he so feel discouraged. He called to me again singing Fatso, Fatso. So, again Rengifo called that Fatso, please come and help me. So, that's why he just crying. So, up to that we just talk about or we learned in our last class. Now, we can move to the next paragraph, page number 49, 10th paragraph. I tried to row, but It was as hopeless as the first time. So, I tried again and again to help my friend Renjifo. It was hopeless, but never happened. I can't help my friend Renjifo. As the first time, once again he tried, but he can't help his friend. I made a last try so that Renjifo could reach the earth. So finally, once again, I tried to help my friend Renjifo. So the last try, he can catch the ore. But the raised hand, which a few minutes earlier had been trying to keep the headphones from singing, sank forever, less than 2 meters from the earth. So the last time, he's just hanging his headphones and it just singing in the river. So forever and ever, I can't see again. Renjifo is just up down in the river. I can't see again. Forever and forever, he's just up down the river. So the 10th paragraph, the last time onwards, he's just tried to help Renjifo, but he can't. So finally, Renjifo also down in the sea. So I hope you understand up to this. Now we can move to the next paragraph. Okay. Paragraph number 11. I don't know how long I stay like that. So he's just thinking that I don't know how I stay. How can I stay like this a long time? Balancing the life raft, holding out the oar. So he's just holding the oar and just balancing in that life raft. I kept searching the water, hoping that someone would save us soon. So he's just hoping someone will come and help us. So he's just tried to do that. But the sea was clear and the wind. So at that time, that moment, the sea was very clear and the wind also in the same way. Getting stronger blew against my shirt like the howl of a dog. The sea was very clear, but the wind was always stronger and stronger and it just flew in my shirt. It getting a sound, that is howl of a dog. The cargo had disappeared. So at that moment, I can't see any cargo in the, it's just disappeared. The mast, growing more distinct, proved that small ship hadn't sunk as I had first thought. So in my first thought, I can't see anything in that small ship. I felt calm, so he's just calmed down. I thought that one of my mates had managed to reach the other life raft. So already I told you there are 2 life rafts. So at that moment, he's just thought that one of the life rafts getting me. So the other life raft, somebody, my friend had just handled in that life raft. There was no reason they shouldn't have reached it. So there is no reason that somebody can get that life raft and they also safe in that life raft. Our narrator Velasco just thought about that. The rafts were in proficient. Proficient means there is nothing in that is not specified ship or life rafts. In fact, none of the life rafts of the small ship was outfitted. There is nothing in that small ships. But there were 6 of them, apart from the rowboats and the whalers. So 6 of lifeboats are there and the other whalers. Whalers means the person who collect whales. It was reasonable to believe that some of my mates had reached the other life rafts. So that's why I thought that some of my mates were collect the other life rafts. As I heard reach mine, and perhaps the destroyer was searching for us. So I thought that somebody is searching for us and tried to help my life. So that's why I just preserved them. Very soon I was aware of the sun. But at that moment, I'm just thought about the sun. A midday sun. So the time is very midday sun. Hot and metallic. So the sun's hot just like a metal. Stupefied. So I was shocked about that. Stupefied means surprised or shocked about that midday sun. Not fully recovered. I looked at my watch, it was noon on the dot. So I just look at my watch and the time is just mid-afternoon. On the dot means exactly on time, that is mid-afternoon. So up to this paragraph, we just talk about Velasco and their friends, how to escape from the Caribbean Sea. Now we can move to the 13th paragraph. The last time Renjifo had asked me the time. So the last time before happening the incident, the Renjifo asked the time to Velasco. The time is, on the small ship it was 11:30. So at that time the time is 11:30. I had checked the time again and the disaster had not yet occurred. So at that time the disaster or the incident or accident At that time 11:30 never appeared in that. That time Rangifo asked the time. So, the time is 11:30. When I looked at my watch on the life raft, it was exactly noon. So, at that time I just once again look at my watch and it's exactly noon time, 12 o'clock. It had taken only 10 minutes for everything to happen for me. So, after that 10 minutes, it's only change. What happened, the incident occurred, the accident occurred. So, after 10 minutes, everything happens. What's the everything happens? To reach the life raft. So, he just tried to reach the life raft and tried to rescue my shipmates, and he tried to help his shipmates and stand motionless, and he just stood motionless in the raft, searching the empty sea, listening to the sharp howl of the wind. I thought it would take at least 2 or 3 hours to rescue me. So, he just tried to say that how to escape from his life. So, he reached to the life raft and tried to rescue my shipmates and stand motionless in the raft. So, searching the empty sea. So, he's just searching the empty sea, what he catch at that time. Listening to the sharp howl of the wind, and he just listen how the sound of wind, it just howl of the wind. I thought it would take them at least 2 or 3 hours to rescue me. So, he's just thought, Velasco, our narrator, just thought at least 2 or 3 hours definitely need to escape him. So, now we can move to the next paragraph, page number 50, 14th paragraph. 2 or 3 hours, I calculate. So, he's just calculated 2 or 3 hours. It seemed an extraordinary. So, he's just unusually, that is long time to be along at sea. So, up to that time 2 or 3 hours, he just stand in the same position. But I tried to resign myself to it. So, he just accept the situation. At that moment, he know how to escape. It's very difficult. Somebody came and I help them. So, he's just accept the moment situation. I had no food or water. So, he's just thought about he had never food or water. And by 3 in the afternoon, so now the time is 3 o'clock. I would surely have searing thirst. So, he's just scorching thirst. So, he was very hungry also. The sun burned my head. So, at that time the sun was very hot time and the sun was burning my head. And my skin too, and so his skin too are very hot, which was dry and hardened by salt. So, the sea water is just included salt. So, his head is included in that salt also. Since I had lost my cap, so at that moment, at that incident, he's lost his cap. I splashed water on my head. So, he's just take some water and splash into his head. And I just sat on the side of the raft waiting to be rescued. So, he's just waiting. Somebody came and helped him. So, he's just waited for that. So, the 14th paragraph says about, he's just thought about how to rescue, how somebody come and help to them. So, he's just thought that he has never food, water, anything. So, he tried to splash his water from the sea water and splash into his head. So, he is waiting for rescue. It was only then that I felt the pain in my right knee. So, at that time onwards, he just know about his knee. He just feel the pain of his right knee. The thick blue drill fabric of my trouser leg was wet. So, he is just wearing a trouser. So, that trouser was very wet. So, I had a hard time rolling it up. So, he is just rolling and removed to that. But when I did, I was startled. So, when I saw that, I was really shocked. I saw a deep half-moon shaped wound to the lower part of my knee. So, at that time onwards, I just know that half-moon shaped wound is in the lower part of the knee. I didn't know if I had gashed into on side of the ship. So, I didn't know whatever happened in that time when it happened, or if it had happened when I hit the water. So, when I hit the water, it may be. For I didn't notice it. So, up to that time, he never noticed that wound. It until I was seated in the life raft. So, until he seated in the life raft, he never seen that wound. Though the wound burned a little. So, I feel at that moment, I feel that somebody pain. It had stopped bleeding. So, now the bleeding is stopped. and was completely dry. So, it almost complete because of the salt water. So, because the helping of the salt water, the bleeding is now stopped. I imagine. So, at that time he is just imagine. What's he imagine? The situation is very critical. Nobody is come and help them. So, now we come to the last paragraph of this chapter. So, up to this moment nobody is come and rescue this person. So, now Velasco only the person left about in that incident. Now, we can come to the next paragraph, last paragraph, 15th paragraph. Uncertain. So, he was not sure as to what to do. So, up to that moment he had no idea about what to do. I decided to make an inventory to my belongings. So, he's just detailed, just think about his belongings. I want to figure out what I could count on in my solitude at sea. So, now he is alone in that sea. So, he just remember what he had in his hand. First of all, I could rely on my watch. So, first of all, he confidently know that he had a watch which kept perfect time. So, in that time there is a, he just once again he look at his watch and the perfect time after 3 o'clock, and which I couldn't stop glancing at every 2 or 3 minutes. So, every 2 or 3 minutes he is repeatedly looking at his watch and just know the time, and which I couldn't stop glancing at 2 or 3 minutes. In addition, so in addition what are the things inside it? I had my gold ring. So, in his hand there is a gold ring which I had bought in Cartagena the year before. The last year he's just bought that ring, and the chain with a medal of the Virgin of Carmen on it. So, what are the things belongings to him? That is, first one a watch, and second one a gold ring, and third one a chain with a medal of Virgin of Carmen. Also purchased in Cartagena, that also purchased in Cartagena, that is his place name. From another sailor for 35 pesos, that is the money. Now, in my pockets I had nothing but the keys on my locker. So, he's just look out the pocket and he just look what are the things in this pocket. I had nothing but the keys of my locker. So, he's just listen the keys of the locker. On the small ship and 3 business cards. So, only the locker keys and 3 business cards are there in their pocket. I had been given at the store in Mobile one day in January when I had gone out shopping. So, at that time while he getting a shopping time, he just keep that cards. Since I had nothing to do, because he had nothing to do, he alone in that Caribbean Sea, he just remember the incidents happening and he's just what's had in his belongings. Since I had nothing to do, I read the cards over and over to distract myself until I was rescued. So, he had a hope that somebody came and rescued them. So, up to that moment he just want to escape something. So, he just remember or just read the card again and again. So, he had a hope that somebody will come and help that person. So, this is a small story of adapted of Gabriel Garcia Marquez. So, now we complete our story. So, I hope you understand the story up to this. So, all of you read carefully the story. Okay. Now, there are 17 question answers. So, last class you done up to 9th paragraph question answers. It's very well. Now, you can do the other 7 question answers up to 17th question answer. Now, we can move to our activities. There are a lot of activities in this chapter. Now, we can move to the activities. So, activity 1, page number 51. Before that, remember once again the name of the characters and the narrator Velasco. That is our narrator, the main protagonist of the story. Don't forget the name of the narrator. He just tell the story. What happened in the Caribbean Sea, just their ship was wrecked and the other shipmates was dead. Only he was rescued. So, he's just tried to describe the incident, his experience tell. So, remember all these incidents, what's happened and the other shipmates name, what happened to other shipmates, all these incidents you should remember. Okay. Now, we can move to the activities. Activity 1, fill in the blanks mind map of the story, a shipwrecked sailor. So, you can see there is a map here. So, belonging to that a shipwrecked sailor, some questions are the characters and their features. So, I already told that there are 5 characters and you should write the features of the characters too. So, here first one is done the Velasco, a narrator or protagonist, and the other one the Carabello, Castillo, Rengifo, Ramon Herrera, these are the other characters. So, you should write the character and their features to write in this columns. Now, next one, main events. What are the main events based on this chapter? You should find out the main events and write it in your textbook. And the two sides, there are two questions, words describing the sea. There are a lot of words describing the sea. So, you should write that words only. And the last one, words describing loneliness. So, the loneliness, lonely. So, that word also describing a lot of words in your textbook. So, read the story carefully and complete the map. Okay. So, after completing the map, you can get a lot of ideas from this chapter too. So, now we can move to the activity 2. So, first activity is based on this chapter, you should complete a map. Okay. Now, we can move to the second activity. You have identified the major events of the story, haven't you? So, already you know what are the major events occurred in this story. Here is a graphic story for you. So, here you can see a lot of pictures based on this chapter, it is a graphic. Study the pictures carefully and write the appropriate events from the story in the space provided. So, you can see a graphic pictures here based on our story. So, already you know what are the main incident occurred in this story. So, here you can see some gaps are there. So, you should find out the appropriate dialogues there. In the space provided, try to add possible dialogues too. You should add possible dialogues to that space. Now, you can narrate the story from the point of view of Velasco. So, you should find out this incident from the point of Velasco. Some events are given to help you. So, some events are here. So, other parts you should continue. The first one and second one is done here. So, after that you should add. The first one, Mobile, Alhambra, USA, February 28, 1955. I am Velasco. I am a sailor and the narrator of the story. So, already I told you Velasco was the narrator. The narrator means the person who tells the all incidents, that is the narrator. That is Caldas, my ship, and travelling from Mobile, Alhambra, in the US to my country, Colombia. So, he is just travelling to his country, Colombia. And the second one, there are small pages. Hi, I am Velasco. So, you should add the other four names, other four shipmates name. Who are the other shipmates? Do you remember that? Yes, first one is Carabello, second one Castillo, third Ramon Herrera, and last one Rengifo. So, add that names in that column. Now, I have four shipmates. There are Carabello, Castillo, Rengifo, and Herrera. So, you should add the name in that space. Now, third onwards, you should write the incident. Look at the graphic pictures, and after that you should add the appropriate sentence in that space. So, this activity, first activity and second activity, you should done it in your textbook only, no need to write in your notebook. So, first and second one is done here up to 12th also done here. So, you should complete 3rd to 11th graphic pictures, you should add the appropriate sentence based on the picture. Okay. So, do you get the idea? So, first of all you read the story 2 or 3 times, then only you get the idea how to write this sentence, appropriate sentence into this. So, I hope you understand up to this. Now, we can move to the next activity, activity 3. This activity you should write in your notebook, that is important. Listen, which event in the story do you think is the most tragic? Why? So, which event? You already learned a lot of incidents and there are a lot of tragic moments also there. So, which event is in the story do you think is the most tragic? Why you think so? So, write it in your own words in your notebook. So, third activity you should write it in your notebook. Now, the vocabulary, enrich our vocabulary activities. There are a lot of activities based on this, just we can move to that, and then after this class in our discussion time we can say it in a detailed ways. Okay. So, let us enrich our vocabulary. Activity 1. Look at the opening sentence of the story. My first impression was that I was utterly alone in the middle of the ocean. Here, the narrator describes his experience of a shipwreck in the first person. So, here the narrator just narrate what's happened in that field. How would the sentence change if he expressed the same in the third person? So, here narrator just tell my first impression. So, imagine that how the sentence tell the third person. So, here there is a space there. So, we should add a word that. Dash first impression was that. So, while we says what we says, yes, Velasco's, we are a third person. So, we says that Velasco's first impression was that. Next, a gap is there. Dash was utterly alone in the middle of the ocean. Who is alone in the ocean? Velasco. So, we are first sentence, we just tell the name Velasco. Then the next one we can add pronoun, that is, he was utterly alone in the middle of the ocean. The first person is Velasco. He just tell my first experience of my first impression. So, when we talk about Velasco, we can just say Velasco's. We can tell the name of the person, or the second time we can add the pronoun, that is he. He was utterly alone in the middle of the ocean. The possessive form of nouns are made by adding s to the nouns. Sajna's book, Rahul's bat, etc. But in the case of pronouns, the words are taken new forms. So, the pronoun, first to say, we can just say the name. So, the second sentence, we just add the pronouns. First, we tell the name, noun, and add s. So, while we writing the third form, first we can done a name and we want to add s. Third form sentence, we must add s. And the next one we can add two ways, that is pronouns, just in singular words or pronouns. Sajna's book, Rahul's bat, like that. The possessive of I is changed to my. Find the possessive form of the pronouns we, you, he, she, they and it. So, it is your work to find out the possessive things, that is we, you, he, she, they and it. Use each pronoun and its possessive in sentence of your own. So, after this class I will get you or did your detailed note about this possessive. So, write it in your own examples. First you find out the pronouns, the possessive form of pronouns we, you, he, she. Then only create a new sentence based on this pronouns. Okay. So, I hope you understand the first activity in vocabulary section. Now, we can move to the second activity, that is suffixes. Already you learned in last class, you already learned about suffixes. Look at some of the words used in the story. Unexpectedly, disappeared, indefinitely, reassuring. It can be seen that the suffixes ly, ed and ing are used after the root word. Root word means the main word of the word. You can also see that some elements are added before the root word. So, after the root word, you add some things. That is, we already learned about what mean by suffixes. So, here there is something un, dis, in, and. Sorry. So, last class we just prefixes. Now, we learned suffixes before we add a root word, that is prefixes. Respectively are added before the root word. So, prefixes mean after the word, and now we want to learn suffixes, that means before we add a word, that is suffixes. So, here there are some examples are there. Fill in the following table with prefixed words identified from the story, or which such words are in a dictionary. So, you should add some prefixes. So, find out some words in yours based on the story and get some words used by prefixes. So, activity 1, now we complete some activities. So, page number 51, first activity and activity 2, you should write it in your textbook. Now, vocabulary activity, activity 1, write it in your notebook. Now, activity 2 also, write it in your textbook. Now, come to activity 3. Fill in the blanks in the following passage, picking up the right words given in the box. You can see some of the words here and read the paragraph carefully. After that, complete the sentence. I can't. There is a gap which it would be like to be alone. My dash of it is really frightening. I am saying this based on the dash I got from my reading. I also dash that floating on the dash of the sea on the boat alone is a more frightening experience than being trapped in a forest. So, find out the correct answers based on the story. So, first of all, you please read the story correctly, then identify this, fill in the blanks. and correct answers. Okay. So, activity 2 and activity 3, all this you please done it in your textbook itself. Now, let us write. That is the important part in your, based on the story, you should write it in your notebook. These are the some important things about or based on your exam. Activity 1, let us write. You should write it in a detailed way. The narrator was given a heroic welcome by the people of his locality. Imagine that he narrates his experience in a public meeting. Write the speech the narrator might have delivered. So, write a speech. That is your first important activity based on this chapter. Imagine you are the narrator and how you experience, how you tell your experience based on the incident occurred in the Caribbean Sea. The narrator was given a heroic welcome by the people of his locality. So, in his locality, all of them welcome very well. Imagine that he narrates his experience in a public. So, in that public meeting, he just share his experience. How he share his experience? Write the speech the narrator might have delivered. Here is a starting point. So, how the narrator delivered a great speech about his experience in the Caribbean Sea. So, here is an introduction for that. Dear ladies and gentlemen, I am very happy to be in front of you. This is the starting of the speech. So, how he done the other things in this speech? You should write it in your own words, how the narrator shared his experience to everyone in a public meeting. So, activity first you should definitely write in your notebook. Now, the second activity. The story A Shipwrecked Sailor is narrated from the point of view of a man involved in a shipwreck. If you were Velasco's friend, so imagine that you were in Velasco's friend. How would you narrate the story? Imagine that you would, the narrator friend, how would you imagine? You may begin like this. You can begin like this. Here is a starting point. Velasco and his 4 friends were sailing through the Caribbean Sea. Suddenly. So, imagine you are the one of the friend of Velasco. So, you should narrate the incidents. How would you narrate? These all story in your own way. You are the friend of Velasco. So, you should write the narration. So, I already tell that in every story there is a narration. That is one of the important section in your exam based questions. So, narration is one of the important. Once again I tell, imagine you are the Velasco's friend and you are try to share or try to narrate the incident happens in Caribbean Sea. So, the first one is speech, then second one narration. You are the friend of Velasco and you should narrate the story. Now, we can done the other activities, activity 3, activity 4, just in the writing section, headlines based on the topic. There are using some headlines also, and there are a lot of activities other than. So, in the time after this class, in the time of our discussion time, we can tell it in detail. Now, it is to wind up today's class. So, after that we can, in our discussion time, we can detail in that session. So, now it is time to wind up our today's class. Thank you.